part of the strategy that I talk about in Suffer Fools Gladly is to take a step back and realize you are probably a fool yourself. You, Chris Williamson, have a foolish side to himself. You play the fool sometimes, even though you don't want to play the fool. Me, Robert, you sometimes can be very foolish and very stupid, even though you wrote the 48 Laws of Power. There's a side of you that is quite foolish and quite emotional and quite reactive, despite how great you think you are. And when you have that and you're dealing with someone that's getting under your skin, who's got really bad ideas, who isn't working hard enough, although it's hard for me when people don't work hard enough, because I can excuse bad ideas and other things, but if you're not working hard enough, that's really hard for me. When you were a child and you were physically quite small, everything around you was larger. Your parents were larger, the house was large, animals were large, rooms were vast. Because of that, it created a certain mentality where you were kind of slightly frightened, but also in awe of things. You were aware that you were a small, weak creature, and it made you curious. It made you, your way to kind of get a little bit of control was to understand through knowledge, be curious, to read books, to be interested and be in kind of awe, continual awe of the world that's around you. But how weird and perverted is it that as we get older, the kind of dynamic gets reversed, where everything that used to be so much larger now seems smaller. And it's as if like we're Gulliver. Now we've grown and grown and grown, and everything else is now smaller around us, and we're these giants. It's our ego. Everything revolves around us, our desires, our beliefs, so much superior to anything else, right? And so suddenly the universe that is vast kind of starts shrinking down. The relationship between you and the cosmos is still, you're insanely small.
So I try and tell people, imagine the following scenario. You have all these illusions about yourself. You think you're probably greater than you are. You have a bit of grandiosity. You don't really know what you're good at, what you're bad at, what you were meant to do in life, what I call your life's task. So imagine that you could have this radical realism where you understood who you were, what you're really good at, what your strengths are, what you're not good at, what you were meant to accomplish in life. You had real, deep, clear clarity about what you were destined to create in this world. That would be incredibly powerful and liberating for you. So you have no idea what's going on in the minds of people, right? It's our nature. We're born actors. So imagine also you had this radical realism where you could see into them. You could actually see through the opaqueness of people and understand what's going on, not completely, but you have a better idea if they really do like you, if they really are interested in your ideas, if they are planning to help you or planning to sabotage you.
And so being aware of the fact that you are probably, if you look at how you judge other people, that's a sure sign of your defensiveness. Now, sometimes you're right in your judgments and you need to be somewhat defensive because there are scary people in the world. There are toxic narcissists, for instance. There are people who are very aggressive and dangerous. So you can't just be open to everyone going around. You're going to really, really suffer. So there's a good reason to be a little bit defensive in this world, and I understand that. But the point where it becomes painful and unproductive is in your personal, intimate relationships.
We all have the confirmation bias. I have it as well. When you're trying to write a book or whatever, like I do, I have a bias towards this is what I think human nature is about. So I will go and find the book that confirm what I already believe. If I'm a Trump supporter or a Democrat, I find the news or the information that will confirm what I already want to believe. I was afraid of being alone or being in a situation I had no control over. So when I was 22 years old and lived on the island of Crete in Greece, the backpack and sleeping in caves, kind of being alone and sort of cutting myself off from the world was something I greatly feared, and I kind of overcame that fear. So sort of the ability for me to confront what I'm most afraid of has been a great source of power. When I grew up, the first thing I wanted to do was leave my parents' house when I was 18, get the hell out of the house and be on my own in college, have everything for myself. Millennials don't think that way. They like to stay at home. They're living in their house until they're 28, 30 years old. They're afraid of independence. They don't want to own a car because it's going to bring them down. It's going to make them more dependent. They're afraid of that. That's not a moral judgment. And if I were a millennial, I would probably be the same way. It's just different. They have other positive traits besides that. They're more community oriented than a lot of people from my generation or Gen Xers. I remember years ago, my brother-in-law said something about learning to watch the grass grow. Basically the idea of things only happen over time. And I was 21 at the time and I wasn't listening. And I've learned since then that most beautiful things occur slowly and with patience. And if you can sit there and watch the grass grow, that's pretty great.